Roguelikes. Games that are renowned for their grueling and punishing difficulty, in-depth mechanics, and just all-around crazy, insane bullshit. Typically, when I think of a roguelike, I picture something with simplistic graphics, something that's presented from a third-person top-down perspective. I also almost never even wonder if the game was single or multiplayer. I mean, if you could play a roguelike with other people, that would kind of ruin the fun, right? Building up something on your own with the very real and constant threat of game-ending death is usually the way roguelikes go. But then there's Barony, a first-person 3D multiplayer roguelike. But while this may not be the standard idea of what a roguelike is, you'd be a right fool to treat this game like it's not a real roguelike, especially if you are attempting to run this game by yourself, because if you are, I can only say that you are a crazy masochist. In fact, one might argue that the added chaos of 4 mentally deranged individuals running around a dungeon full of instant death traps, angry minotaurs, and slimes that have no right to be as tanky as they are is a recipe for disaster. And it absolutely is. But it's a fun disaster. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that playing this game by yourself is frustrating, and not in an I just need to play more and get better kind of way. I played this game a total of 30 minutes by myself before I realized I don't have to suffer alone. So why would I? Tell me it's a skill issue, I dare you. I beat Caves of Cud, motherfucker. Released in 2015 by Turning Wheel, Barony has continued to update frequently, with the most recent DLC being released in early 2026. Also, unlike most roguelikes, and just most games in general, this game is voxel-based. For those of you who can talk to the opposite sex, a voxel is basically just a 3D pixel. You and up to 3 of your victims, friends, soon-to-be enemies, will descend into the dungeon of the city of Hamlet, a settlement that has been claimed by Baron Hex as his barony.
He said it! He said it!
It was once the most prosperous place around, but that was until the Baron came to the conclusion that life is precious. So precious, in fact, that he decided to become an undead lich and enslave all the people in the city to be his minions. Truly, this man has brought the idea to its natural conclusion. Outside is too dangerous. Stay in here, where you're alive and enslaved. But this dungeon is not a city, it's a dungeon. Were you not listening? The city's like somewhere else. Anyway, a game of Barony has you descending through 35 floors of unrelenting hardships, and that's not including the secret levels that you can find as you descend. You'll hack and slash your way through enemies, accidentally summon demons that want to suck out your soul through your eye holes, lead a party of hapless fools to their deaths, and die over and over again. But as usual, I'm getting ahead of myself. At the start of every run of Barony, you'll select your race, class, and name, and that's really about it. Each class has a standard starting set of gear that doesn't vary from playthrough to playthrough. Starting as a cleric today will get you the same equipment and skills as starting as a cleric a month from now, unless there's an update that changes that somewhere along the way, in which case, fuck me, I guess. While every class starts with different stats, you can level up any skill in the game so long as you use that skill. I've said it many times before, and I will say it here again. I love that kind of shit in games. Barony doesn't take it to the next step and make your levels gained through various skill ups, as your overall level is raised through accumulation of experience points gained by killing enemies. That counts for enemies that your teammates kill too, which is nice. Level ups come with stat upgrades, though they are allocated to predetermined specific stats, so there's no talent or skill tree that you'll need to ruminate over trying to figure out what works best. Spells are unlocked through various spell books that you can find and read, though not everyone is going to be able to read them, and just because you learn it doesn't mean it won't fizzle out when you're trying to use it if your skill level is too low. Learning, however, does not mean preparing. Learned that one the hard way. You can only have one spell prepared at any time, so make sure you know what you're doing before you go spamming the F to pay your respects. Spells aren't just categorized under a catch-all magic skill, and every spell will fall into its own category of skill. Weapons behave similarly in that there are skills for each type of weapon, and your skill in that defines how effective you are with the weapon. I'm pretty sure a low skill won't cause you to outright miss, but a higher skill will lead to higher damage output. Luckily, most of the weapons feel different too, so there's more variety than just what your class starts with. For instance, when I first played the healer class, I was very happy that the quarterstaff I was using had more range than the maces and axes I was used to. Didn't take long to realize that didn't matter with the healer, because she's as squishy as those weird liquid-filled squeeze toys that nobody has ever once stuck their dick in. Oh my god! Speaking of new experiences, all of the classes play to their own strengths and offer a lot of variety in how Barony can be played. I am a giant pussy and mostly ran cleric while playing with my friends because they have access to a healing spell, but don't have their skull fall out of their head if an enemy so much as breathes on you like the healer does. There are a lot of classes and race combinations, but unfortunately some of the more unique ones are hidden behind DLC, which is fine, I'm just a cheap bastard. Some of my friends played some of the DLC classes like the Myconid Hermit and the Automaton Tinkerer. One of my friends learned the hard way though that playing as a skeleton is not purely cosmetic.
What's going on here?
Who's he attacking? Us? Man, I am so glad that skeletons aren't real.
Am I tripping here? Your bones in your body is just...
Alright, cool. So that's your character and what pointy object you'll be brandishing through the dungeon, but what can you expect to find as you crawl your way through this absolute hellscape? Death. You will find death. But if you manage to avoid dying long enough, the goal on every floor is to kill enemies, acquire loot like the little goblin you are, and find the exit to the next floor. Biomes change as you descend, and each area has different enemies that you'll need to contend with if you want to keep acquiring new gear. Most things that you pick up are going to need to be appraised before you can figure out what exactly they do, and it's never a good idea to just slap things on willy-nilly.
I can just wear these, right?
Be careful. Sometimes things are, cursed and you can't take them off.
I just put
once you get a high enough level of lore, you can,
Oh, I'm dead.
Some items are cursed, and you can't unequip them once they're on, unless you find a spell to remove said curse or kick the bucket. Appraisal is a skill, and higher level and rarer items require a high level in appraisal to appraise. So it's a good idea to pick up all the random junk that drops from low level enemies, for the sole fact alone that you will automatically begin to appraise them if your skill is high enough, and it's the best way to keep up with the increasing level of loot. You'll also be wanting to find as much food as possible because there is a hunger system in this game. As far as I can tell, there's no real way to keep track of this until you get a status notification that you're hungry. Even then, you can accidentally eat too much food and yak all over your friends. Eating spoiled or moldy food will cause you to do the same, though there are specific classes like the Myconid that thrive on multi cheese and hunks of rotten meat. Also stashed away down here are other hapless souls that have either been imprisoned or got lost and gave up all hope, until you come along and tell them to follow you. Followers in this game can be a godsend, or they can be absolute morons that only exist to break friendly objects and run straight first into boulder traps. At least they trigger them for you. There is also alchemy in this game, but I've only got enough room for one roguelike with alchemy in my brain, so I stayed clear of that. You'll also encounter various other points of interest that you can interact with, and just about all of them have a random chance to either help you, harm you, or summon a succubus that doesn't want to do the fun thing that succubi are known for. They just want to kill you. To me, this is one of the weaker aspects of this game's randomness slash difficulty. Most of the time, you're not even going to want to fuck with these things because the chance of them damaging you or spawning enemies is honestly really high. And in a game where it's already hard enough to progress, I don't want my death to be at the hands of something that could, if blessed by RNGesus, heal me. I understand that not everyone will feel that way, but I do think this is honestly one of my least favorite aspects of the game. Feel free to call me a dink in the comments. Oh yeah, watch out for the Minotaur, by the way. He can spawn on random levels where he'll show up after a certain amount of time and completely fuck up your entire day, life, and existence. But as frustrating as this game can be, it's just so much fun to play. I can't tell you how many times my friends and I completely wiped and had to start over from the beginning, but every time we went back into it more determined than ever before to actually lock the fuck in and play. That pretty quickly went out the window most of the time because we're idiots and wouldn't stick together, but we still had a lot of fun doing it. And what's great is that if you die with a party, it's not game over for you. On death, you drop a giant box with all your shit in it. If one of your teammates can safely retrieve that and lug it to the exit, you'll have free access to all your stuff upon respawning on the next floor. You'll come back to life on a new floor regardless, but it is made significantly harder when all you can do is punch your enemies to death. Fuck! Sword usually beats fist, you know. Plus, when you die, you get to fly around as a little Pac-Man ghost. Believe it or not, there is utility to this as well. Ghosts can open doors, flip switches, and explore all over the map. They can make call-outs to alert party members to traps and enemies, free from the fear of getting their heads caved in. Plus, they have the ability to cast a spell on enemies that slows them, debuffing them to allow for easier takedowns or escapes by the living party members. And for as crazy as this game is with a full stack of players, some of the best moments I had in this game were from duos runs with one of my friends. It's a lot less chaotic and gives you more of an opportunity to learn the levels, enemies, and mechanics of Barony. It might not be as raucous, but it definitely gave me a much stronger appreciation for the game, and I learned a lot more about it by playing this way. At the time of writing this, we are on our best run yet and are honestly kicking ass. It helps that my friend is playing the DLC class of Tinkerer, which allows him to deploy sentries, but that doesn't mean it's been a walk in the park. It's hard, and never stops being hard. You just get better at it. Or you can pick up a legendary mace that whispers conspiracy theories to you as you bash your enemy's skulls in. That works too. Now, I say all this good stuff about it, but the game is not without its flaws. Sometimes damage outputs by enemies seem to be really inconsistent, and you're often up against enemies that can very easily drop you without you even knowing you're being attacked. As mentioned before, I'm also not really the biggest fan of how often the sinks and fountains are liable to completely fuck you over. The hunger system in this game isn't my favorite either. There's really no indication that you're hungry until you receive that alert that I mentioned earlier. The only other way you can tell is to eat something, which can occasionally end in you accidentally vomiting all over the nice dungeon walls. And for some reason, I'm not entirely sure why, it seems like in some levels your hunger increases more quickly than others. Some of the traps, especially the ones that involve a boulder turning you into a pancake, feel outright unfair. But you know, for those kinds of complaints, this is a roguelike, man, so it's to be expected. That being said though, it is still a multiplayer game at its core, and if everyone is going in and dying repeatedly to things they feel are unfair, you pretty quickly lose any cohesion you might have had in your team, and you'll pretty quickly start losing players. And to me, this game is very much balanced for a multiplayer experience. You can play it solo, and lots of people definitely do. I just feel like the game is way less fun on your own, and I find that I end up frustrated way more often than I do while playing other roguelikes. Even a game like Noida, where death may as well be stalking you in the shadows, doesn't make me feel nearly as frustrated as Barony can. But ultimately, it's all up to player preference. Some of the things that I mentioned here that frustrate me might be a selling point to you, and that's truly the beauty of roguelikes. There's tons out there, and they've all got different things that appeal to different people. So if you've been looking for something crazy and difficult to get into with your friends, I think you should give Barony a try. As I said before, it's still being actively supported by the devs despite its age, so I don't think you'll have to worry about a dearth of shit to get into anytime soon. Just make sure that your friends aren't giant pussies and can take the punishment. I promise you'll have a good time with it. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments some of the shenanigans you and your friends have gotten into in Barony, and let me know some of your favorite moments. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like, and if you made it this far, I think you liked it at least a little bit. Also, don't forget to subscribe. I'm shooting for my next goal at 5,000 subs, and I just know you all are gonna help me reach it. I upload every other week, so there's tons more to see on the horizon. All that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!